Okay. Hi, good to see you all. We might get a few stragglers. Whenever I do these, I always get all these signups and then everyone just wants the recording. So thanks for being here so I didn't have to talk to myself. I really appreciate that. Some of you submitted questions, some of you haven't, and that's fine. I've got a lot to go over. Let me just let Lisa in. So let me just kind of give a little brief intro and then I'll take your questions verbally. And then after that, I'll go over the submitted questions just because I want to give you a chance to speak so it's not just me. So the 300 hour that I run every year is starting in September. And the kind of way it works is you get access in July to the course portal. And I'm going to actually show you what that looks like. So you can get an idea. So this is inside Kajabi. You get access to this course portal and these are where all the recordings live. So you get, like, for example, if we click on workshops, these are all where all the recordings live. Where your homework lives. So this is where you submit all your homework, all that kind of stuff. That's kind of how it looks. And you get access to this course portal July 1st. And then when we first meet, we don't meet until September 11th. So you have about 2.5 months from there to do some of the pre-homework. You'll have additional pre-homework as well before the second module, before the January session. But everything on the homework tabs over here is laid out for you in the beginning. So you have a really easy time with managing your own schedule. Like, you get all the assignments, even though you'll know what's due in January, you'll know what's due in February, because all of that is going to depend on the guest teacher schedules. So the only things that you get kind of thrown your way during our small little tiny assignments where I might have you do a social media post, or where I might have you work in a group and discuss something, but nothing that's like big, like reading a book or reading a paper and submitting an assessment. So that's kind of nice. On occasion, what I'll do, like after a guest teacher, is I will have a little quiz for you to answer. But the quizzes are like 3 questions. They're just like, basically, were you there and paying attention? They're not like super challenging. And I find that it's really helpful to keep everyone on track because it's so easy to multitask when you're listening to these lectures. And if you're multitasking, you'll find that you're going to end up reading that, watching that recording over and over. It's better just to like get it when you first have it. But so that's kind of the workload. It's all very organized. It's all very well laid out. I know some people had some questions about kind of how that worked and how that would work with their schedule. Like, for example, you'll get you'll read a chapter out of this book and have to answer some questions, and all of that will be laid out. You have until September 1st. Make sure it's actually September 1st. September 1st, 2024 to complete everything. So even though I give you due dates for the assignments and all of that, I understand that life happens. So some late assignments aren't the end of the world. Of course, the due dates are there for a good reason. You want to be familiar with Todd's work before Todd guest lectures. That would be nice. And then also I have to grade all these. I read every single assignment and do all of it's not grading, you all pass it if you do it, but I read them all and interact with you. It's like your direct line to me. And so if you all submit them late, then I'm bombarded with homework to grade. So it's nice to have a little due date because it kind of helps the work trickle in so that I'm not grading homework for 7 days straight. But anyway, I understand that life happens. So that's the whole reason why I lay out all the bigger assignments. I lay them all out in the beginning so you can manage your time and take care of you in the best way possible. So the September 1st, 2024 is the kind of due date for everything. It's where your final project will be due, because you do have a final project to do on your own. And then that's when all the other assignments will need to be due so that you can get your certificate. Some people do it late. That's okay too. Just stay in communication with me. So the question, one of the questions was like, what's the time frame to complete the material? It's about a year. It's about a year program, even though we meet in September, October, and January and February. The schedule is 90 minutes on, 90 minutes off, 90 minutes on. You know, we have 2 breaks, 3 sessions. And that's because after years of being on Zoom now, just those 90-minute bite-sized pieces are just really good for comprehension. So we kind of, it's a lot of information. These are like power sessions, you know, it's like 90 minutes and then you get a break, you get to pick up your kids, feed your dog, all the things, do the laundry. I always encourage you to get away from the computer, maybe get outside. And that way the content isn't like staring at a computer for 6 hours a day, which I just did this weekend. So that's intentional. We get through quite a bit of material and I don't hold back. So it's like a massive download. If you can't attend all 3 sessions every day, because it is a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, that is also pretty flexible. Normally, the way I have it is that the people that are like from Asia and Australia, they're still sleeping during the morning session. They join session 2 and 3. And then everyone from the Europe and UK, they join session 1 and 2 and they go to bed for session 3 because it's late for them. And most of us are all in session 2. That's kind of how the schedule is laid out. It actually works really well because I post the recordings nightly. I even post the recordings in between sessions if I have time. And so that means, like, you know, if those in Europe will wake up in the morning, watch the session and be in person, or be, you know, live on the next session and be caught up. It's not required because the training is not linear. So it does go up and down. So it's okay if you can't watch the recordings until the weekend after or something, but it is not a don't participate, watch later training, right? If you can't attend all the sessions, no big deal, but you still have to be keeping up with the content, at least watching the recordings before we meet for the next block of times. And that's because there are little assignments. There's a lot of thought provoker type things. You get in breakout rooms, you discuss certain concepts. And then, you know, usually you have to leave a little comment so that everyone can participate. And so if you're just checked out, you're not part of the group. And you do have a final group presentation, both in module 1 and module 2. Module 1 is a group class thing that you put together, and module 2 is a case study for a private client that you put together. So there is like a little bit of outside coordination with your classmates. It's, you know, it's still a training in that sense. You're not going to be alone. And again, like I said, I read all the assignments that you do submit. And so it's like a direct line to me. So when we have one-on-ones, like I know where you're at in the training. I know what you're thinking. I know what you're understanding. So you're literally talking to me when you're submitting the assignments. And the assignments are not, other than those little quizzes, but the assignments, the big ones, are not like about getting answers right. The questions are like, what do you think about this? Right? It's not this isn't college. So the questions are very much like, you know, if you were in this situation, how does this inform you? And so it's like you get to share with me what you're learning. Homework is one of my favorite parts of the whole training. It's a really great way to connect, especially since we're not in person and having lunch together. So that being said, you get 3 one-on-ones. So you get one as soon as July 1st happens and the training opens up. You can schedule your first one-on-one. All the links are in that course portal I showed you. And that's like a 30-minute get to know each other, express concerns, talk about the schedule, that kind of stuff. And then you get 1 hour one-on-one starting like mid-module 1 And then you get another one starting mid-module 2. And so we can go over anything. Like sometimes I'll take notes on your homework and we'll discuss it, or you'll have questions, or you'll want help on your project. And the time is for you. So you can ask me whatever you want. That's pretty much the training. There is one elective, which is the module that is for, or is a South Asian teacher, an Indigenous teacher. And that is, I always get questions about that. Like, is it part of the training? Is it not part of the training? It is for you to decide what you want to do. So I've gone back and forth with this in a lot of different ways. And this is, I think, the most effective way, because this training is very focused on pain science, right? We got a lot of Todd Hargrove, who does a lot of writing on pain science. We got Greg Lehman, who has a course reconciling pain science with biomechanics. We have a lot of somatics. Somebody asked in the written question, like, how much is somatics? We have 2 books on somatics, Donna Farhi and a Linda Hartley book, so from the Body Mind Centering. Todd is a Feldenkrais instructor as well, so he does a lot of Feldenkrais in his session. So there's a lot of that. Plus we have restorative. And then we have, of course, all the biomechanics, a lot of biomechanics, some neuroscience. So it's a really real technical training. So that means if you want a little bit more, maybe yoga philosophy, or you want to do something maybe on the chakras, or you want to do something, is Victoria here? She'd asked about, about pregnancy, the elective is for you to turn the training into exactly what you need for your career. And that means it can be philosophy, or it can be like, I had one woman one year and she really wanted to study migraines, yoga for migraines. So that's what the elective is for. And then we just want to, bring attention and awareness to yoga teachers from, different areas. And so that's why we choose a South Asian teacher. And it's really cool. It's, I have a social network. I have like a private social network that's like a Facebook, but not Facebook, because not everyone's on Facebook. And so we all interact in there. We have a special group that's just for the training. And we create a post where you get to go out and like research online, like different types of programs, different teachers. And then we post in one like dedicated area, everything that we discovered for this elective module. And what's really cool is sometimes what you found is not what you end up taking, because someone in your class found something super cool that you didn't even know existed. So it's like a database of future study. And it doesn't have to be very long. It has to be a couple hours, a few hours, whatever suits your needs. And that has to be done just by the time you get your certificate. So it's not something we get right into. We usually start talking about it about middle of module 1. The spirit of the assignment is half you rounding out your training. And the other part of it is creating this post where we're elevating the voices of Indigenous teachers. And so you have like a resource there, which is really cool. So seen some really neat stuff being shared. This year, a group got together and actually got a woman named Indu, who's amazing, does really cool stuff on kind of the history of yoga. And they joined together and like had her do a private course for them. It was really neat. So I can help you facilitate all that as well. So any questions so far? I just laid a lot out. I want to make sure you're getting heard. Don't be shy. No.
I have one.
Great. Is it Leah?
It is, yeah. Just to clarify, the elective is not included in the 300-hour tuition. That's something that we'd have to.
Yeah, you do it separately. Yes.
Okay.
Because I'm not contracting them, like, and part of the reason is like 1 year, 1 year I really want it to round out your training, so I want you to choose it. Do you know what I mean? And that's really hard for me to put into the budget. 1 year I had talked about doing a segment on cultural appropriation, And then turns out I had 3 women from India in my training. Like it didn't, so I'm not wanting to like, they don't want that kind of conversation, you know, so I'm not wanting to, I guess, like gatekeep the topic. And so it is not included. That being said, it's not like you have to take a 500-hour Ayurveda training. You know what I mean? Like some situations like this group, they banded together and they paid, I think it was like, they paid her like $50 each or something like that. You know, so it's not, I'm not expecting you to have a large financial investment, nor a large time investment in it.
Okay.
So yeah, even in fact, sometimes there's like some really cool podcasts out there. And sometimes you can just, they've done this before, you'll listen to a few hours of podcasts. You have to like write a little summary for me, and then just donate to them. Just be like, hey, can I donate to your podcast and $20 or whatever. So you can do that as well. So it's not meant to break the bank.
Thanks.
Yeah. Any other questions? How many group studies per module? That's a great question. So each module has one group final project, and that is assigned to you early on in the module. And sometimes I give you class time to work together, but not always. Just depends on how we're moving along with content. So you would coordinate with your group. It's usually like just 2 or 3 people in a group, because it's really hard to coordinate 6 or 7 people at a time. And I do it by time zone. So when I do those assignments where I know you're going to need to do outside time, it's like, I won't put someone in Europe with someone on the West Coast. Like that would just not be fair. So, you know, they're not exactly in your time zone, but usually within a couple hours, you know, so everyone in the UK and Europe is in one, and everyone in North America. So I manage it that way. That's like your big group projects, one module 1 and one in module 2, and you're given plenty of time and notice. The group projects that happen within the training, those just, we roll with the punches. The way I teach is super fluid. So when there's questions about stretching, I'm willing to spend more time on it. If no one cares about it and they want to talk more about injuries, we'll talk about that. So I have this much stuff to teach and only this much in 300 hours, right? So we'll get to whatever we get to based on your interests. And so I'll do a lot of little like, I'll do a breakout room. Let's just say, here's a great example. All right, you 3 own a studio. And after we've read the research paper on headstand, you 3 own a studio. Are you going to implement a no headstand policy, or are you going to allow headstand to be taught? And then you have to talk about it based on the research and what you've read and what you understand. So those types of things come up as they come up. And if you were absent, if you were like not at that session, you still have to do the assignment, but usually it's stuff you can do on your own. Like you could answer that question yourself. So you're held accountable for the smaller group activities, but I don't expect you to like find a partner because you weren't there, if that makes sense. Then I will sometimes on occasion, I will do a little like group thing where I will put you together, and I will have you, like, let's just say you have to come up with 3 poses with this somatic skill in mind, and and I have you discuss it. And then usually like that'll be like the last 10 minutes of class, and I'll leave the rooms open for you if you want to talk a little longer, kind of bleed into your break a little bit. And then to submit the assignment, you usually just have to leave a comment under where the video lives. And again, if you were somebody that wasn't at that session, you'll just have to watch and do the assignment on your own. So I understand that you're not like all sitting in a room like an in-person training, and I wouldn't expect you to start texting everyone like, who wasn't there, who's available? They're mostly things you can handle on your own. That's a good question, but one big project. What else? What other questions? I'm looking at the list. I think I've covered most of them. Mandatory attendance, books. There are 5 books to order. And I have them all on a website. I can share that with you in the recording if you'd like. 5 books. How many hours is the elective? As many hours as you want it to be. So maybe more than 15 minutes. You know, usually the average is, I would say like 1 to 4 hours is the average. When you, the homework assignment for the elective, there's like 3 questions. One of them is how many hours, and it's multiple choice, like under 5 hours, 5 to 10 hours, or over 10 hours. So that gives you a ballpark of what I'm looking for. And then is like, what are the top 3 things that you learned from this? And then the next question is like, did you like this course? Should everybody take it? Or, you know, like kind of a little review of the course. Pretty simple stuff. It's for you. It's not for me. It's for you. You know, it's like for you to round out the training for yourself. If you're like, I've always wanted to learn about the Bhagavad Gita, you know, and you found a YouTube channel that has this really cool Bhagavad, you know, then that, and I'm here to support you in that. One year, a woman she discovered that she wanted to do an Ayurveda training. She felt so in love with it. And she was like, I'm never going to get this Ayurveda training done before that. I was like, you don't have to do it for this training. You can graduate, get your certificate, and then go do the Ayurveda training. That's for you. So that's not the spirit of this elective. The spirit is for you to be introduced to something so that you might want to learn more about it in the future. That makes sense. So good question, Lisa. I will encourage you not to take on that much.
I have a concern.
Okay.
So I have attempted to read your book, and a lot of it just right over my head. I felt like, you know, I'm an art major, or I was an art major, and I was not prepared to read that book, and I struggled. And so I'm kind of worried that I don't know if I'm ready for the 300-hour, or I'm worried that I'll struggle and fall behind.
It's a very valid concern. It is a textbook. It is a textbook. Yes. It's not easy to read. You should see what it took me to write it. It was pretty miserable. Literally, a 10-year relationship ended during the writing of this book. I couldn't raise the relationship, couldn't handle it. That's the cool thing about being in the training, is you get me talking about it in an enthusiastic way. You get all the slides. We lecture it's just like one chapter, lots of questions. You get slides, I discuss it, I do visuals, we apply it. You also get a ton of bonus content. So let me show you again. So if you come in here in the bonus so you get this book club right here. So you get not just me lecturing and being excited and enthusiastic and answering your direct questions, because I know this stuff. So it's best for you to ask me a question, then I can explain it. We can, and then also you have this pre-recorded lecture of me. So you have all these different resources, and you get some homework in the from the book where they're like these discussion topics, these discussion questions. And as you stumble through the answers, I'm learning from you where the strengths and the weaknesses in the cohort are. So that's why it's really helpful. Like, you're not going to, if you're like, well, I didn't really understand the role of elastin in this, that's your homework assignment to me. So I'm not like, oh, you didn't get your homework right, you don't pass. I'm like, oh, great. Leah had a question about elastin. I'm going to make sure that when we do that lecture, I'm going to slow down, I'm going to talk about it, I'm going to make sure that her educational needs are met. So that's like the whole spirit of the homework. It's not about getting it right or getting an A. It's you're talking to me. So it's really fun, because sometimes people are like, I think I'm just saying this completely wrong, and I'm reading that like you're talking to me. So it's a really good opportunity to share where you're lost and it not being public on camera, being recorded. It's like you get little private messages to me. And sometimes, I'll be honest, sometimes I will immediately email you and be like, oh, and give you a little resource. And sometimes I'll just make a note and we'll save it for a one-on-one. I just don't answer every email or every homework because I'd be in email forever. But if I find it's important or you've got a request or whatever, I will address it and answer you. And the cool thing is, there's 6 chapters in the book, and we review them, and you have all this guest content, or all this bonus content, but you also have a lot of review. A lot of the themes overlap. So when you have Greg Lehman come, who's super fun and smart and friendly, he will go over, the stress strain curve in a different context from me. And so now you're like, I call it learning in layers. You're like literally piecing together things from different perspectives. And when Greg brings in the pain science, and then later you have Todd and you have pain science, and you get some pain science from me, you get these like different perspectives that help you tie everything together. And then that's also what the group discussions are about. We do a lot of breakout rooms because it's fun to talk about this stuff. One year, someone called it like messy questions. It's like the whole training is about messy questions because it gets you to refine and recognize where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are. And this is about me teaching you, and this is about me teaching you and thinking about the way you teach. So it's not like you leave this training teaching like Jules. That's not the point. I'm not teaching you the Jules Mitchell method. I'm teaching you how to think about, you teach yin, how they start thinking about what that means and what you're saying. If you really like somatics and you really got into the somatic sections of the training, like how does that show up for the way you teach? When you do like the assignments, it's really interesting. When you like do your practice teach, we don't really do practice teaching in that way. But I don't encourage you to like teach the lessons or teach the things. I encourage you to talk about them. So for example, if I say, all right, for this homework assignment, you have to send me a 3-minute video of utilizing 2 of Todd's somatic principles in 3 yoga poses, let's just say. And what I encourage you to do is to turn on the camera and talk to me and say, okay, well, so I'm gonna explore variation or repetition without repetition as a principle. I'm gonna explore that in Warrior 2 by, bending the knee in this way and using this prop, instead of coming onto your mat and saying, okay, inhale, take your arms up. I'm trying to break you from the script is the point. So I really encourage you to do the assignments by talking about it instead of relying on the 200-hour script that you were taught. And that sometimes is really fun because you're like, you get with a partner and you're doing a stuff, and all of a sudden you're like, oh wait, that's not part of the assignment. I'm just teaching the way I know how to teach. So I try to shake that up by giving you these constraints. And that's to me where the learning happens, where you're a little uncomfortable. You're like, wait, I don't, this is all I know what to say about Warrior 2. You're asking me to talk about it in a different way. And then everyone has fun with it. So I know it's nerdy stuff, but you're ready. I know you're ready. It's fun. Who else has any questions? It's almost time, and I want to get to the payment plan stuff. Okay. So there are some scholarships available. I've already issued some. Scholarship application is due March 31st. So if you are applying for a scholarship, get that in. It's 1 question, the scholarship application. 1 question, and that's how it will support you. And that means that I want a thoughtful answer. They're usually the ones that move me. So that is due March 31st. Once you pay the deposit, there's payment, there's on the website. So the deposit is $895, and then on the website there's installments that you can pay, and those are manual installments. And I just made a button, $1,000 button and a $4,000 button, so you can pay it. You can pay it in full or you can pay it in installments. If you would like, and payments are due July 1st. If you would, when the course portal opens, when you get access to everything, if you would like to do a payment plan, I am more than happy to set that up for you. And that is where you get auto drafted every month. And if you do that, we just need to get you have to get like half your payment in before module 1, and you have to be done by module 2. So that gives you, that's the way that you can get out of having everything due by July 1st. You'd have to have it all be due by December 1st, but we'd have to get you started pretty quickly. And so this is an individual link. If you were said, I want to do 8 payments of 500, we'll set that up. I send you a link. When you make that first payment, it gets automatically drafted every month. If you don't want to deal with that, I'm just going to put on my card and just pay it all at once. You can do that on the website. So the auto draft, you get beyond July 1st. We pick an interval that works for you and me, that we come to an agreement. And if you're going to do it independently on your own, so I don't have to keep track of you, then it's due by July 1st. Just makes it easier. And the first year that I implemented the payment plan was last year, and it was really successful. Everyone really liked it. So I can do that. You just have to send me an email and we'll talk about it. Yeah, I think that all makes sense to everyone. Yeah, the whole reason, because the course opens, even though we meet first in September, to me, the training starts July 1st, because that's where we start doing one-on-ones. That's where you start looking at the homework. That's where we get access to the social media site. So you have the homework and the books. We meet on Zoom, but everything is stored in Kajabi. That's where all the content is stored. And then we have the social media page where we have our own little group, and that's where all the fun interactions go, where, extra resources and all of that. And then those two tools both have mobile apps, which is really cool. So you can watch the recordings or interact with all of us on a mobile app or on a computer. So one's a Mighty Network and one is Kajabi. Yes, let me get you. So let me show you here. I'll just screen share one more time to get those 2 questions answered. And then, okay, so this is the teacher training page. If you go to teacher training and you drop down, it's right here, 300 hour. You can also get to it from my homepage. If you scroll down, where the payment section is, so here are the installments, right? Here's the deposit. Right below that is the scholarship. Here's the terms and the application right below, due March 31st. And then if you want the book list, I'll show you where it's hiding on my website. On any page, just go down to the bottom, to the footer, and under my recommendations, and I'll put this in the chat for you too, but there's just a bunch of links on here, but these are the books for teacher training. So the first thing. So these 5 books, and then these 2 are free. So this is a Recovery Strategies Pain Guidebook by Greg Lehman. That's just a download. And this one here, the Debunking Handbook, is a free resource as well. So, and I think all of these are available on ebook Kindle versions. And everything else down here is not required per se, but these are the types of props we'll use and things like this. If you're interested in the anatomy lab, these are like anatomy things, but nothing here is required except for these top 5 books to purchase. Let me pop that into the chat for you all. Oh, sorry. That's not what I meant to send. Didn't get copied. Don't email that person because it's spam. There you go. There's the book list. Anything else? You all have any like personal follow-up questions, you're more than welcome to email me. Yeah, Michelle's joining us. I'm excited for you to be there. Yeah, it's a pretty well organized event. I'm a Virgo, so the course portal is very clear where everything is. You get lots of bonus content. I throw a lot of yoga classes in there at times as well, because we don't have time. This isn't the kind of training where you're going to do an hour of yoga every day. You know what I mean? Like this is very cerebral, but I do share with you classes. Sometimes we have class, usually we have class like near the end of a module, where you're in the beginning or near the end of a module. And then I'll also put things into the bonus content section. It's really fun. Like if you are all like, oh, I really am curious about, you know, the neuroimmune system, and I have a lecture for my mentoring program or whatever, I'll pop it in there and share it with you. So I have now that I've done 3 years on Zoom, I have so many recordings of things. So again, the bonus content like unrolls and unravels as your interests are shared with me. So it's really, this training is a highlight of my year. I love it. I hope you all join. And the last thing, and then I'll end with this. The last thing is that in summer of 2024, I'm doing like a reunion, not really a reunion, but a gathering in person in Las Vegas for all ex-graduates, past graduates. And it's going to be like a 5-day thing that is going to have some guest lecturers, some networking, some of the like principles of the training, like buckling, bracing, yielding, things that don't do the best online, where we do a lot of like in-person stuff, some restorative, some resistance stretching, all that. So it'll be like workshopy, networky, and it's exclusive to people who've taken the training. So that's happening in June, and I have those dates if you're curious, and I can share those with you. So it's a 1 week in Las Vegas, and then the following week is a lab, an anatomy lab in Colorado. So because I have a lot of international students, so like the people from New Zealand are like, can you do them back to back so that I don't have to buy one international flight? So you'll be invited to that too. And my guess would be that anatomy dissection lab would be also all graduates. So really fun, cool collection of smart people. So you'd be invited to that. I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah. There's some, if you go on my website, there's a graduate directory list. So I've got like over 100 graduates, and there's some really cool people on there. I think everybody will be so happy to meet each other and socialize. Awesome. Any other questions?
I have a question, Jules.
Yes.
Are you registered with Yoga Alliance, or are you kind of
Yes.
You're outside?
Yes, I'm a 300-hour school. And Yoga Alliance is kind of meh, so I don't really like put it on my website and bother. But yes, I'm a registered school. The school name is Udaya. I'm a registered 200 and 300-hour school, and you will get a certificate that you can upload with them. Yeah. I was actually on their committee of updating the standards back in like 2018, 17, 18. And that's when I really realized how kind of annoying they are. So I just, I understand. I'm registered, I get it, but I'm not like running around going, I don't want to get involved in the debate.
Yeah, I haven't been registered for a long time, but I was just invited to be a lead instructor for a school that is registered. And so now I'm trying to like backtrack to register anyway. It's now top of mind for me. So
you can do it. Yes, you'll get the certificate. I'm a 300-hour school. Yes. Good. Yeah. And that's why I do it. I understand. So, it's they're just.
Hey, Jules.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi, it's good to see you. I just wanted to tune in on the Leah's question. I know that she said she was an arts major and that she was feeling reticent about the biomechanics, but I had the privilege of doing your biomechanics to keep my hours current for learning and ongoing learning. And I was really intimidated, Leah. And I don't know if it's of any peace of mind for you because I'm kind of an arts type of a mind as well. It was way easier to digest than the book was by itself. The book, when I opened it, upon receiving it, I was really intimidated. And then I was really elated to discuss this with Jules and with the other students that were doing it as well. So I don't know if that's of any comfort to you, but I was listening to you say it and I could really relate to that intimidation factor of it all. So I just wanted to chime in on that.
Thank you. That does give me peace of mind. I appreciate that.
No problem.
Thanks, Michelle.
No problem.
I mean, let me kind of phrase it like this. I grew up in the yoga trenches with all of you, right? And so for me, it was when I discovered this tissue mechanics topic, like everything changed for me. I was like, oh my gosh, they have graphs that express how tendons and ligaments behave when you stretch them. Like, I didn't know that this was known. And so for me, it was like the journey was like a 10-year journey because I had nobody to help me assimilate it into yoga. I'd already been, so I was like, and I was struggling. And part of why the book is so challenging is because I really wanted to be factual. I wanted it to be, I didn't want more metaphor and story. I wanted fact. And that's what the book is. But I also, because of that, understand that we need to make meaning out of it. And so that's where the lecture part comes in. That's where my enthusiasm, I'm stretching rubber bands, I'm stretching gummy worms, I'm putting it all into context and scenarios and letting you know what matters, when it doesn't matter. And part of that is because like I'm not an academic coming to you. I'm coming from teaching yoga with you all. So I get it. I know what it's like to bang your head on the wall and be like, how does this make sense? Because I've been there. So, and then once you get it, then it's fun because then you can go back into the book and now you have context and you don't have to do math equations, but I help you understand what does it mean when there's a graph with a line here and a line here, and what does it mean in the real world? What's the application? Oh, it's about a relationship between two variables. And I get excited about that kind of stuff. So you're in the right place. And the also cool thing is that like, I don't expect you to know a bunch of anatomical terms. We do like the front shoulder stuff, that's like as complicated as it gets, the posterior hip stuff. So you're not like you're not behind if you don't have a huge anatomical vocabulary. Anybody else? I think I've covered everything. I will send the recording out. And I'll include the book page link. And I don't know, do you all want to see the Mighty Network? Does that interest you at all? Yeah, okay, let me do that real quick. And then I know it's late and so you can go if you're not, but let me share with you the Mighty Network. I think that will be kind of fun to see. Okay. So that's one of my favorite parts is this little social network. Okay, so this is, here's like, it's just like Facebook. There's like a feed. And that, has all your stuff. There's some like welcome calls, things like that. You welcome, start here. And there's a little video on how to use the network. And then we have these like open forums. So you can all join this now. So we have like community discussion feeds. So again, just like Facebook, like I'll post things about anatomy and biomechanics here. And it's just like this feed on this topic. Really cool, fun things, or breathing or teaching yoga research. I'll share research in here. And then business type stuff, like, thing when there's changes in Instagram or changes in PayPal or whatever, I post that in here, and you're all allowed to post as well. So this is like the open to everybody in the network. And then this stuff here is open to my mentoring group only. And this stuff here, so these are all the years of teacher training. So you'll all be in this cohort, which has no members yet. But I've built it for you already. So you'll all be in here. This is this year's training. They all have their own little private, network in there. And same thing, the anatomy labs are in here. And then I have like another little program, Stretching Redefiners Club. But it's nice because you can also communicate in this community section with everybody. So sometimes like I'll get a question, let me see, like this is Tamara. She posted something recently about, or here, calling all graduates. I have a client lead for you in the DC area. And so now that is for all the years of the teacher training and everyone in the mentoring program, everyone in the community, which is kind of nice. Tamara had some questions about, I think it was about like how she ended class or something. But anyway, you get the idea. It's a fun little network, and you can join that even without being in the training. So I can put a link to that in the email as well. That you can just join and poke around in there before you join the teacher training group. It's fun. Yeah. Like in this year's teacher training, we have like a dedicated post to book recommendations, because I always have book records. So it's really, or like fun little movie recommendations or whatever. It's very social. And I do that so that the online experience is fun and you still get to make friends and you connect with each other. It's not a lonely process.
Thanks, Jules.
Thanks, Michelle. Thanks, everyone. I'll stop the recording.
Thanks. This was really helpful.